I am someone that doesn't watch the news. It's not that I don't know what happens or what could happen, but I don't fixate on it. And it doesn't stop me from doing things that I love or want to do.
Hello, everyone. I am your host, Lion, and I believe we are conditioned to fear in a way which holds us back. This is especially true if you are a woman, and I am very passionate about bringing you the voice of women who have done a lot of work to deprogram and transcend that fear in pursuit of their greatness. Please join us as we learn from Alicia about her journey and how she found the courage to deprogram and transcend the fears which hold a lot of us back. Hello and welcome, Alicia. Thank you so much for making the time to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. So if it's okay with you, I'd love to get started by sharing an intro with our audience before we get into it. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's great.
All right, fantastic. So, thank you so much to the audience for joining. I'm very excited to present Alicia. Alicia was born in New Jersey, just outside of Philly. Her mom had her young, and her real dad has been in prison her whole life, and went there even before she was born. And growing up, Alicia and her mom, she grew up living with her grandparents, and then soon thereafter moved when her stepdad came into the picture, and that represented a really big change along with step siblings. And so I share that to share, how challenging, of an environment experience that she had as a result of what I just shared. But that didn't stop her. Alicia, when she was old enough, she sought out her freedom, and she built a practice around stepping out of her comfort zone to start traveling. Her travels took her to places like Montreal, Europe, and Colorado. And as far as her career goes, she is an imaging tech, which as a career lends itself well to being a nomad. And then a few years ago, as a result of things that we'll find out, Alicia was moved to become a biker, which is a big decision, especially as a woman, because as you all know, right now there's a huge disparity where most bikers are men. And so Alicia is, a badass and a trailblazer who hopes to inspire other women to live as boldly as she is. And all of us, really, not just women.
Yeah.
So thank you, Alicia. Is there anything that I missed that you wanted to sort of chime in on?
No, I think you covered the basic beginning.
Hell yeah.
Backstory.
So let's begin by you sharing the story of how we met.
All right. So I got a job in San Francisco. I was here for like half of a day, and I found the center, which is like a yoga open space tea house in San Francisco. And it happened to be a full moon. There was a sound bath. I was like, this is my place. I took a break from the sound bath and was waiting in line for the bathroom, and open mic was also going on in the back room where you were. Um,
Mhm.
there was no interaction, but I did see you there. I was watching you guys play music. And then when the sound bath was over, I hop on my motorcycle. I'm looking for music, trying to find the right song for the mood.
Mhm.
You approached me like, hey, I do this podcast. Get out of your comfort zone. And immediately I was like, yeah, that is something I'm practicing almost daily. And it really resonated with me when you said that. And then the whole woman empowerment and me being on a motorcycle and going that route, I was like, yes, yeah, this all really aligns with me. And then you're like, yeah, let's talk about it sailing. And I was like, yes, yeah, I've been on a sailboat, but I've never like sailed. Yes, I love that. Sailing in Berkeley, yeah. We capsized. It was a great time. It was nothing but laughs and screams and really great.
Yeah, you were slash are a really good sport. And I think because, that time of the year, the water is colder and it wasn't as sunny.
No.
And we capsized, I would say, around like the midpoint, and you were okay, going back out there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that speaks volumes for your resilience and just like not letting something like that, stop you from having a good time. And we had an amazing time, and you did amazing. Like, you're a natural sailor.
Thank
I'm gonna say it all live.
you.
So with that, let's talk a little bit about your childhood.
Mhm.
Because I think that's a very important aspect of who you are. So in the introduction, we talked about how, for a large part of your then young life, it was just you and your mom. And then there was a big change with your stepdad coming to the picture. So help us understand, how your life changed and sort of the challenges associated with such a big life change, right? From your eyes as a 6, 7-year-old kid.
Yeah. So my authority was really only my mom and my grandparents, but they didn't have like full authority over me. So to have another person come in, and I don't really like rules, was very difficult. And I didn't really feel understood in a lot of ways because I'm not like my mom in a lot of ways, where I do like adventure and I do like trying new things. And I'm stimulated in ways of like sports and like getting my energy out that way. And I'm now realizing a lot of that is from my dad, that my biological dad, that I didn't even grow up with. Like I inherently am like him in a lot of ways now that I'm learning more about him and building a relationship, which was interesting. And also, it gives me a better understanding of myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely difficult not having family on the same page as me and not knowing
Mm-hmm.
how to give me what I needed.
Mm-hmm. And so, um, how did the landscape changing, and your environment going from your mom being the only authoritative figure, um, to now there being an additional person, um, sort of um, make you feel restricted in ways that maybe perhaps before you felt like you had more agency. ability to communicate.
Yeah. Um, I definitely didn't feel heard in a lot of ways. And they had their own communicative issues. And as a child,
Mm,
being stuck in the middle of people that can't communicate well
mm,
is very difficult. Um,
mm,
and I was definitely very angry um,
mm,
because I didn't feel heard.
mm.
And there's definitely a lot of changes. Not only a
Yeah.
dad, but then siblings, and then they started their family. Um, and I just became a part of that.
Mm. You know, it's really interesting because earlier in this conversation, you mentioned how you're rebellious. Um,
Inherently.
yeah. Um, and that's a label that sort of the world puts upon us. And I remember that when you and I were chatting, one of the things that you shared is how you got used to being told, because it was told so many times to you, that you're bad, you're
Yeah.
being bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, you know, um, as it relates to um, you experiencing anger for large parts of your childhood, what did that look like, and how much of it was fed, by this frustration?
Teen angst is very real. Um, yeah,
Mm,
I was angry for a lot of my childhood.
mm,
Um, Told I was a bad kid because I did bad things. Um, but really was just lashing out because I didn't feel seen or heard or understood, um, which kind of brought
yeah,
me, which kind of brought me to people that were different. Um,
as a result.
yeah, I was always like friends with the punks and
Mm,
other angsty people, artists, adventurers.
yeah.
Gravitated towards people that did things a little bit differently.
Yeah, who were in some respects, um, as a result of not being understood, kind of pushed out of the mainstream, but who were living life in a more eccentric, brave, bolder way, right?
Yeah, which wasn't really my mom didn't really like that.
So you, you mentioned how, in a lot of ways, you and your mom were quite different. And are you able to speak to that a little bit more, especially around, fears, that you all have, especially as two women, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
mother-daughter.
Yeah, so I have little fear. My fear is more social. My mom's fear is the world. So
Mhm,
she's afraid of flying. She's afraid of being in closed spaces. She's afraid that something with the weather is going to happen. Um,
mhm,
Anything on the news that has happened, she is afraid is going to happen, or
mhm,
is just worried that it will happen. Hyperfixated on it.
mhm,
And I am someone that doesn't watch the news. I don't. It's not that I don't know what happens or what could happen, but I don't fixate on it, and it doesn't stop me from
mhm,
doing things that I love or want to do. So like me going to Canada by myself was very hard for her. Um, I definitely had to check in and like tell her I was alive. But a lot of her fears, and I would get phone calls of like what was going on in the world, and I did have to make a boundary at one point I didn't want to hear about the worries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
and thank you
she could
so
feel
much.
that way, but I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is really valuable because um, you recognized the power that her fear projection has, and as a way of trying to protect yourself, communicating that boundary. But I mean, like, this was when you were an adult, like when you were traveling through Canada, you were already an
19.
adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Are you able to elaborate a little bit on how um, this like world of fear that she wanted to raise you in affected your childhood and maybe the amount of freedom that she gave you to, explore Philly, which is like an amazing city, right? Or like your maybe or
Yeah.
like your ability to socialize, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah. So I was not allowed to go into the city. I was taking art classes in Philly, and I was only allowed to go to the art class. Like, no walking around. Philly's dangerous. People get murdered. Crime rate is this. And so of course I'm like, I want to go on South Street. I want to see like all the artsy stuff. I want to see the graffiti. I want to experience the city. I live in a small little lake town in New Jersey. So one day I skipped art class and I was like, I'm just gonna walk around the city and do it. Like, it's one of my last art classes. It's one of my last like chances to get out. She found out. The art studio like called her. And, oh, she wasn't here today. And my mom was like, what the fuck? So then that's me being a bad kid. I'm a liar. I'm not trustworthy. And my privileges, my freedoms are then taken away.
even more.
And I'm getting angrier and more like, I want to do these things. This is what I want to do. And I'm not allowed to do it. And then not only am I not allowed to do it, I'm punished for trying to do it. And it was always like a spring break or something. I'd get grounded, like right before spring break. And I'd be not allowed to do the things that my friends were doing with their time off. I'd be stuck home, but my friends were bad kids anyway, so it didn't matter to them. But I just wasn't trusted. Like, parents would always have to be called, and so naturally, a friend would pretend to be a parent, and like it was just me trying to do what I wanted.
Yeah. And like it pushed you to do things that you otherwise wouldn't feel the need to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel the need
if
to
you
lie if I was
were,
allowed to.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Well, when you finally got old enough, right? Your really first big step out of your comfort zone to like feed this beast that was growing within you of like, I want to explore. Yeah.
Very much that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Was Montreal.
Yeah.
Why Montreal?
So Montreal was a train ride, like a 12-hour train ride. And I had gone on a trip with a friend to Toronto and then to Montreal. And I just fell in love with the city. It felt really European, and like it felt like a different country, where Toronto was like Canadian New York, but still very similar to what I've experienced in the United States. So Montreal was like French architecture. People were speaking French. The food was interesting. And I was like, yeah, I love this. I was being social. I was allowed to drink there.
Yeah.
I was an adult at 19. I was like, yeah, this is like no parents, no rules. I love this. And that's what I fell in love with, was the freedom of, oh, you want to do this? You can. Go ahead.
Hmm.
You want to explore that? You want to go walk around a church, walk around wherever? There's no one saying that you can't.
Hmm. And one of the couple of things that stood out to me when we were chatting about your experience traveling through Montreal is that um, you didn't really have a plan, that you were just like
Mm-mm.
kind of going with the flow and exploring. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and how it allowed you to experience things that, when you're just open to the unknown and what might come up, as opposed to here's my itinerary, blah, blah, blah. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, it was your first time staying in a hostel.
Yeah.
And there's still
Yeah.
to this day quite a lot of like, especially as a woman, like, you're staying in a hostel? Oh my
Yeah, and
God.
it was like when the movie Hostel was relevant, and yeah, so my mom was not. She's like, "You're gonna get murdered in the hostel." Um, but I stayed in a hostel by myself. I made That was actually how I made friends,
Mm,
because there was other young people
mm,
staying there.
mm,
So how would you not make friends?
mm,
But my itinerary would be the hostel I'm staying at, and like maybe one or two things that I saw that looked
mm,
interesting, and I'd be like, okay, like I'll go and do that, or I would look for music
mm,
um,
mm.
and go that route. But most of the time, I would just walk around the city, and that is my favorite way to explore a city, is just walking around, um, just kind of popping into whatever you stumble across, and it's always something. You're bound to find something.
Yeah, when you leave room for the
Mm-hmm.
mystery, that's when you experience magic.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And, it sounds like you had an overall pretty positive experience in a hostel where you felt safe, you felt comfortable
Mhm.
meeting and making friends, even at the age of 19. Um, so let's talk about Europe,
Mhm.
because that's a very juicy story.
Yeah.
Um, could you kind of set the stage, um, and paint a picture of like, you know, what was driving you to Europe, right? And kind of like the preparation that you did financially, and then I'll get into some of the questions.
Yeah. So I was 21. I was
Mhm.
working at a pizza shop. I wasn't really making a lot of money, but I was like, I have
Mm,
like $2,000 and I am going to Europe. Because Montreal, I was like, yeah, I really like the European vibe. And originally it was going to be England. Uh,
mm.
I was going to be on a farm in England, woofing, and I got my plane ticket. I land in Heathrow, and they ask me a million questions that I don't have the answer to. They're like, how long are you here for? Who are you staying with? And I'm like, I'm here for like 2 months. I'm staying with a family friend for a little bit. I'm traveling around, and they're like, okay, what's the name of your family friend? Blah blah blah. Like, what's his last name? I haven't met him. He's my neighbor's cousin. I don't know. I don't know. And he's like, well, what's their address? What's their phone number? I'm like, I have their phone number, but they're picking me up. Like, I don't have their address. And so, like, we don't have enough information to let you in. They sit me down, and I'm like getting Wi-Fi, finding out his information, and I'm like, okay, I have it. I have his last name and everything. And they like take me back rooms of Heathrow, search my bag. They take like a calendar and a piece of paper that says I'm a diabetic. And then I'm in this like holding room for a while before they interview me. And they're like, okay, so on your calendar, it says you're going to be on a farm. What are you doing on the farm? I was like, farming. And they're like, you need a volunteering visa to do that. We're sending you home. I was like, but it's not volunteering. It's an exchange. They are giving me a place to stay and food, and I'm learning how to farm.
Yeah.
It's not volunteering. So no, they sent me back home with my return flight. So I then, my parents split the ticket with me to fly to France. They wouldn't let me just go to France from England. They're like, no, you have to go back home. So now I'm down to like $1,600 going to France. I got a train ticket. There's 3 countries, 6 stops. So I did France, Italy, and Germany. And I did 2 cities in each country. I tried to do like a bigger city and a smaller city. And that was like as far as my plans were. And then I was couch surfing. So I found people in each city, or for the most part, I was like, I can still like figure it out on the way. But for the most part, I had somebody already before I was leaving. And I wrote down all their phone numbers and their last names. And I get to Paris, and they look at my passport, look at me, and they say nothing. Stamp it, I'm in. So I was traveling around for 6 weeks. Towards the end of my trip, I ran out of money, and my parents wired me like $200. $200 got me from Munich to Berlin and back to Paris. Not by any fancy means. Definitely scrounging and kind of relying on my hosts for food. So when I got to Berlin, my host was like, "Oh, I'm fasting." And I was like, "Oh, wonderful. I'm fasting too, I guess." So we fasted for the day. I think I was there for like 2 days, a day and a half. And I think I bought something like on my travels, like something small, but we didn't eat. And then I got to Paris, and that was like the last, like I only went back to Paris because I was flying out of Paris, and yeah.
Wow. So I want to talk about a few things, but like first, before we get into it, for the audience, could you clarify what woof or woofing is, and like what the acronym is?
So woofing is WOOF. It's Worldwide Organic Farming.
And it's a great platform if you want to travel for practically no money.
Yeah.
And just change the scenery.
And
if you're into the outdoors. Yeah. One thing so I'm a couch surfer as well, and I've hosted quite a few people. There's a lot of fear projection around couch surfing as a woman, right? And in my own experience of like the women that I've hosted and just like other fellow women couch surfers, it is an area where you have to be more watchful. And so how did you sort of ensure, like despite, fears around it, how did you navigate those fears to ensure safety for yourself?
So I would talk to them. You can share messages. You can even share, it was Facebook at the time. Instagram wasn't a thing. So like having their Facebook, you can kind of stalk them. But really just following my intuition and just like inherent knowing what people's intentions can be depending on how they say things. And so like if somebody's like, "You're so gorgeous, like you're welcome to stay on my couch, blah 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 blah," and goes on about looks and like appearance, I'm not going to stay with you because I know I can assume what your intention is. Like this isn't a date. It's a host. Like you're just hosting
Mm-hmm.
somebody, helping them out, and in a way traveling yourself by having people through your house. But it was definitely men that I was staying with because women wanted to meet for coffee first, and like meet in person before inviting me to stay at their home, which would have been fine if I had more money maybe and I could like get a hostel for a night and then like go that route. But I didn't really have the resources like that. So just like filtering through people, having conversations, and just trusting them, trusting myself.
Fucking powerful. And I think that's a big thing. Like, I'm a big believer of cultivating your intuition. I think like that's a whole nother podcast. But one of the things that's quite prominent in this story is how you were strapped for funds, right? And like one of the big things as a nomad, when I meet people, they're just blown away by me. And I'm like, oh my God, it's my dream to go here. And the question that I always ask them is, what's stopping you?
Yeah.
And the most frequent answer that I get is, oh, money.
Money, time.
Oh, money. Yeah. And like, you know, time.
I can't afford to take off. I don't have enough money to do it. And yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, time is a factor that, you know, we don't have the time to get into right now.
Touche.
Touche. But money is like, you know, like when you really want to travel, it's to like see new things and like how you're living. Yeah. And it's like, are you traveling for luxury? Or are you traveling to like see a different way of living and to explore, to like have a feast of your eyes, of your mouth, of just all of your senses and your spirit, right? And
to be out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, this experience that you went on is a perfect example of how you made it work, right? And yeah, there were moments of discomfort when you were just like fasting without
This is it.
But like, what were some of the ways in which you made your money last? So you mentioned how, you know, you would, you know, try to couch surf and like how you would try to vet them. But what are some other ways in which you like made your money last and stretch?
I didn't really do a lot of super touristy things that cost money. I did like the Vatican. I don't remember how much that was. But a lot of my time was just like wandering around the city. And I'm into photography, so that keeps me pretty busy. Like I can just walk around and take pictures and I'm happy. But kind of doing that introduces you to people, which opens the door to really generous people that are like, oh, you're traveling all the way from here? Let me buy you lunch. Let me buy you a coffee. Like just opening the door to receiving.
And how did you navigate that as a woman if like the person who was offering was a man?
Yeah. So
that's kind of complex, right?
Yeah. Boundaries. Kind of holding your own. I don't know. Using your words. But a lot of the times it was women who wanted to. I would meet up with people from couchsurfing, also, just to like hang out. A lot of them wanted to practice their English, so they were super excited to just like hang out and walk around, or like they would have suggestions of things to do sometimes. I went to the BMW like exhibit. I don't know.
Mm,
Just because this girl wanted to practice her English. Um,
mm,
so things like that.
mm,
And girls were more willing to meet up and hang out. Like I went to the flea market with a girl, and we hit it off, and we ended up like finding there was like a band playing at the flea market, and they're like, we're playing a show tomorrow night. And we are like, oh, and I was like, maybe I'll stay another night. Like, I'll have to talk to my host, but I think I can stay another night. And she's like, yeah, let's go. And so, like, that was something I could do with somebody. And again, not really spending money. I think it was a free show. So really all I was spending money on was food, alcohol, and food and alcohol, really.
mm. And the one thing I will say that kind of comes up for me is with couchsurfing hosts, as somebody who's a big believer in that community of couchsurfing, I think it's so beautiful that people can open their homes for the most part without expectations of like how much time you are spending with them, and
Yeah.
understanding that like they're giving unconditionally to a fellow human, a kindred spirit who's as passionate as they are because they were in your shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like, hey, do your thing, and you have a place to rest your
Yeah.
head at night.
Yeah.
Which I think is so, 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 so beautiful.
Yeah. When I had a house in Denver, it was definitely an open door. And
Yeah,
paying that forward.
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You brought up Denver. So let's go there.
Let's go.
Um, you kind of grounded yourself when you moved to Colorado, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, and you kind of got a taste of the 9 to 5 and all of that as part of growing into your current career. But what I remember from when we were chatting is how you would still, despite the limitations that you had on you as far as the working life, every chance that you got, you would pack up the car or your Subaru or whatever, and get out there. And Colorado is such an amazing state when it comes to nature. I mean, I absolutely love it. But the thing that I want to spend a little bit of time talking about is you did that mostly solo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And going out in nature like that. And so many women, and this is one of the things that I'm very passionate about, is because so many women that I've come across who have this fear of going and exploring and being in nature solo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about, what drove you, what your experience was like.
So I did have at least one dog with me, sometimes two dogs. And I was drawn to it. I was like, I don't need money. I can go out in my Subaru and I can camp in the Subaru if it's too cold, or just sleep in a tent. And I was like, this is a way for me to explore like I do in cities. I got really into hiking when I moved to Colorado. And that was like something I really something I still really love, being active outside. But the fears I had were more like animal related and not even really big fears. Not a lot of safety issues. Like I didn't ever feel like I wasn't safe. And I was out there like every weekend driving like 4 or 5 hours into the mountains to kind of get
in
away
the
from,
woods.
to get away from people and to just really experience nature.
Yeah. And speaking from personal experience, Colorado, like when you're in the mountains, can get pretty desolate. Where it's just you, nature, your dog,
Yeah.
and whatever
Yeah. My mom would
creature.
be like, "How many people did you see?" It's like, "I only saw 2 people. It was great." And she's like, "Only 2 people?" Yeah. And I'm like, the less, the better. Thank you.
I love it. Just earlier when you were talking about sort of the solo exploration, you mentioned how it doesn't take a lot of money. And I think that's a great segue to talking about your current lifestyle as a nomad who lives in her van, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'd love to hear is with your current career and the money that you make, how has that impacted your finances as a result of, living in a van, and what does that look like for your finances?
My finances are the best I've ever been in my whole entire life. Um, Traveling pays very well, and the living stipend really is what pays very well. The hourly is less than usual, but the living stipend is untaxable, and it's a lot every week. So that's where the real money is. And then me not having an apartment in Denver, and then also paying, because that's what they're paying you for, is they assume that you have you have a full-time residence, and then you're getting an apartment in the city that you're working in. Where I only have the van, there's no other home. So I'm able to save a lot of money, and that gives me time. And that is my most valuable possession that I learned during COVID, is that time is the only thing that matters. So having the ability to take time off because I'm making so much money and saving so much money, I'm able to take 3 months off and not worry about it. Granted, I'm not living like a luxury lifestyle. That money is going to last me 3 months, and then I'm hoping to still have savings. Like, I'm not spending on things that, I guess, comforts, really. I'm not really spending on super comfortable things. Hot springs, yes, but like hotels and Airbnbs, no, not really. It's a very simple way of living that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. And I wonder how much of this comfort that you feel now came as a result of the discomfort that you felt when you were in Europe, only eating once a day or not eating at all.
Yeah.
And the day we went to the day we spent together sailing, you fed me Trader Joe's. Like, I don't know about y'all, but Trader Joe's is fucking top shelf in my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely
it's funny.
buy food for other travelers that I'm like, I'm buying your meal. We're having breakfast, or we're doing this. But that is something I really like sharing with people.
And your lifestyle allows you to be that generous and spread love in that way, right? Where, how you're living feels comfortable because of the practice of stepping out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's the biggest, most valuable thing. And I'm so grateful to you because it came up in such an organic way, because I wasn't even planning on bringing it up. But like, building a practice around stepping out of your comfort zone to seek discomfort makes you ultimately become comfortable in that situation and find joy in that situation, to where it allows you to then start living that way and creating abundance where there previously wasn't because of the money that you're saving. But then it also feeds your fearlessness, right? Because you're a lot more likely to take a risk if it means, financially it might set you back. So you're like, what's the worst? I'll live in my van, right? It makes you more fearless to take
Yeah.
risks, which can allow you to have more success in life.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. With that, um, in the limited time that we have left, I'd love to learn about, where were you in life? What was your relationship with motorbikes, you know, before you became a biker? Please.
Yeah, so I was in a relationship for 5.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he was really into motorcycles, and we did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
motorcycle trips. He came from like a family that was into motorcycles. His dad was started his own club and is deeply embedded in him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I was always interested in, but I never was really exposed to. So going on all these trips, I loved it. I was like, this is amazing. Like, we're outside, the wind's in your hair, like we're traveling, and we're like also like super outside and just like super freeing. It was a very freeing experience. And like only having what you have on your back, and like you can't really overpack, and you're very at will of the weather. I just loved every part of it. And I had kind of like thought about getting a bike when we were together, but it didn't really work out. He really wanted to go to Arizona, and he was like, we can find you a bike in Arizona. But I never wanted to go to Arizona. And part of me was scared to get a bike because my driving record was not the greatest. People that know me have seen me drive a car. It's a little sketchy sometimes. So I was definitely like, I could die. I could definitely die on a motorcycle. And part of me thought that, like, if you crashed, you died. Like, that was it. There was no, you didn't survive a motorcycle accident. You were either really fucked up or you're dead. But I was still like, I want to try. So when my relationship ended, I almost immediately, like a month or so after, signed up for a motorcycle class. It was a weekend course. You get your license at the end if you pass. So it was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I had never been on a motorcycle, like me starting it. Like, I was always on the back. So to start this course, it was a little overwhelming. Like, I didn't know how to shift the clutch and everything. It was very new to me. So I took the course, and I was still like, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I like just being a passenger, looking around and not having to worry about dying, because I'm just like all trusting and like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's like in their hands. But the minute I started the bike and we like did our little back and forth in the parking lot, I was like, no, I really love this. This is a great feeling. And so I did the course and I passed. I was one of the only girls to pass the course. The only girl in my class. There was probably half and half of women to men. Only 2 girls that were my age, and the others were like older women. And a lot of them just backed out after day 1 when we started doing like turns and stuff. They're like, no, actually, this isn't for me. And a lot of them had been on motorcycles, like passengers. And they're like, no, like this actually isn't, I don't feel comfortable, which is fine. That's fine. But I passed, and I was all excited. And I got a bike that week. I went into the dealership and I was like, I need a bike like right now. And I got the motorcycle, and I had never been on the road I had only been in the parking lot. And I called my friend Elise. I was like, Elise, can you meet me at the Harley dealership and like ride home with me? Because I haven't done this. And she's like, yeah. And her partner came and met me and like escorted me home, and like one of them was in front of me and the other one was behind me, and we like got on Colfax, and yeah, it was a whole experience. And I made it home and I just started riding around, riding to work, taking the bike
Mm-hmm.
everywhere I could. And this was September, so it was like limited on how much
Mm-hmm.
good weather I had. But I got really into it, and that fall, like later in the fall, I reached out to, I only knew like two girls that rode, which was
Mm-hmm.
Elise and this other girl, Casey. And I reached out to Casey. I was like, hey, like, would you want to go for a ride? Like, I'm looking for people to ride with, like a little bit. I wanted to get out of the city a little bit more. And she was like, hey, I'm going to bike night. We're going to ride to
Mm-hmm.
bike night if you want to come. And this was like a Wednesday night thing in the city. And I was like, okay, yeah, like that'd be cool. And so I met up with her and we rode together. Um, and there was like a handful of women that rode. And one of them reached out to me. Her name was Tara. And she had been in the community a little bit longer than like she was pretty new to the community as well, but longer than I had been. And then I just started meeting all these girls really through her and through the Denver community that started riding really at the same time. There's like 5 or 6 of us that started riding like
Mm-hmm.
2020. And we really bonded, and we're not all still friends, but I still have a core friend group there.
Hell yeah. And so what I picked up from that story is that um if you sort of if you've never been on a bike, right? Um get on a bike, because you don't
Yeah,
know, it
you don't
might
know.
light up a fire. It might light up a fire within you. And if you have been on a bike in the passenger seat and you felt this sense of exhilaration, maybe consider and like know from Alicia's
Explore it.
life, yeah, that not only are there great resources and courses to teach you how to do it right, but as a woman, there are other women out there, they aren't as frequent as men,
Mm-hmm.
and they will probably
And
go out of their way to support you.
there's
Um,
definitely a community of women that ride, and they're
mm,
great.
and they're probably close knit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure anybody who's listening to this podcast, if they feel inspired, you're the kind of person who would make themselves available to talk to them, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Alicia, I have to say, I am so in awe of you right now. And I want to share with the audience how fucking amazing this
Thank
woman
you.
is, because, you know, um, you've never done a podcast before.
Mm-mm.
And one thing you should know about Alicia, these are her own words. Alicia told me, I live in silence, okay? Like, Alicia loves her silence.
Yeah.
And you would not have thought that based on how she carried herself today, how boisterous, how vocal, you know, she is today. You would not have known that, like, she was nervous and that, she is this person who lives in silence. And that's a testament to your courage, your boldness, and your authenticity in just showing up and speaking your truth for a purpose that's greater than you. So
Yeah.
I salute you
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers. With that, I want to thank you once again for showing up, making the time, sharing so generously, so deeply
Thank you
of
for
yourself.
making the space for that.
It is my passion and my pleasure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to thank our audience in the here and now as well as in the futures for making the time to tune in and join us. And with that, until the next episode, I wish you love and light.
Thank you, you too. Mwah.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone series. I hope it moved you and inspired you if you are feeling stuck with something in your life. If you would like to further connect with our guest, please see their contact in the description. Please consider taking a moment to rate this podcast. Please also consider showing us some love on your Instagram story. You can find our info in the episode description. Until the next episode, I wish you infinite love and light. Thank you so much for tuning in.